Hello, wandering feet. My name is Katie. I use she, her pronouns. I am a stitcher, and this is my 2026 mid-year WIP parade. Okay, friends, we are going to get into it. You can see here all of my project bags. I don't want to touch this pile too strenuously because it is precarious at best. I have here a giant pile of ironed, beautiful linens. I have myself a little board with some clips. I have my spreadsheet of amazing right here that is going to have all of the information I need to know. I have a new microphone. We'll see how that goes. I have water, and I have an adult beverage in one of my favorite wine glasses. I bought this, unsurprisingly, in Georgia. And it contains a remarkably unremarkable rosé from Park City, because a thing that Utah is known for is its wine, right? Okay, these are going to be in alphabetical order because I don't care enough to try and figure out when they were started to put them in start order, and my spreadsheet already has them in alphabetical order. So there we go. I am going to start with a sampler for Grace, which is from Shaded Stitchery. This was a Nashville 2027 release. This is the stitch mark or needle minder that I'm using with it. I have put all my needle minders on the patterns so that I remember which one goes, but I took them off of the actual work so that I could iron it, and I didn't want to lose them. So this is the chart here. This is the project bag that it's in. This is from Layla P Creations. This is an African block print fabric. Layla P Creations is the Etsy shop for Corynne from Corey Creates 08, who is a floss tuber, and I will link her below. Here is my progress so far. This is my progress so far. This is being stitched on 36 count fiber on a whim in affogato, which I believe is the called for. It is going to finish around 9 by 12, and I am 13.98% completed. This is where I'm going to start editing to cut out all of the fumbling with bags and clips, and that way you're not spending 3 hours with half of it with me putting things away. Next is A Worthy Patriot. This was started on June 20th because my stitching bestie Jess from Herobornstitches and I are running a stitch along for Worthy Patriot. We just started section 3, so we've stitched the dove at the top, all of the frames and lines in between, and the words A Worthy Patriot, and then Patrick Henry is the one that we stitched this week. So this is, you know what, let me, hang on. Okay, here is the full work where I am right now. And this is, so this is section 1 up here. Section 2 is all of these frames. And then section 3 is this Patrick Henry section here. This is being stitched on 40 count Tuscan linen from Fox and Rabbit. And again, this is A Worthy Patriot from Plum Street Samplers. I am 28.78% finished. I'm trying to get out of the the light is crazy at this time of the day. So 28.78%. finished with that one. If you're stitching this, as I said, Jess and I are doing stitch along over on Instagram. It is hashtag A Worthy Patriot SAL. Please, please join in with us. We would love to have you stitch with us, and we would love to see your progress. Okay, I have now closed the blinds, so now all we're going to have are these weird little dots. Because I wanted you to be able to see the work well instead of guessing. The third project that I have is called After the Roses, right there, from Ink Circles. I started this on 11/8/25, and I am 34% finished with this work. This is being stitched on 32 count vintage smoky white from Zweigart, using the called for fancy flosses. This is my first project ever that included fancy flosses. My first project that included fancy flosses, and I just absolutely fell in love. They're so, I didn't realize that fancy flosses were a thing. I didn't know that that specialty and hand dyed linens were a thing. This was like a gateway stitch that really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And this is going to finish about 8x8. So this is the top edge, and then this here is the corner. So, and it's it has radial symmetry. So each of these corners is all symmetrical. So this is, like I said, this is the upper edge. So the bottom edge will come down to here somewhere. And it should finish at 8x8. The nice thing about editing in between is that I can just zip my bags and not have to worry about it. The next WIP that I have is called All Are Welcome Here. It is a chart from Maximum Cross Stitch that was provided for free if I made a donation to Puertas Abiertas from Grand Rapids. This is a stitch along that was hosted by Geraldine from Jer_Jerix Stitches. And the proceeds from those, obviously the proceeds from those donations, because you make them directly with Puertas Abiertas, which is Spanish for open doors, help with legal aid and immigration issues, compounded by the fascist Stasi ice. I don't know any nicer way to say that. So I did make the donation, and I did purchase the pattern, and I did start the stitch along. It is a nominal at best start. I am 4.96% finished. So I am currently a home builder, working on that section. I started this on June 2nd, 2026. And like I said, I am 4.96% finished. I didn't tell you that this is being stitched on 32 count platinum from Witchelt. Next up is my birthday start. You may remember, if you are on my Instagram or if you've watched literally any of my other videos, that I was doing a March Madness style bracket to determine what I was going to start at my birthday. I actually had you, my friends and viewers, choose my birthday start, and boyfriend is still salty about this, but the winner was an ode to libraries. He doesn't understand how that happened, especially since he seeded the bracket. He feels like it should have gone his way. I don't know what his way is, but I love libraries. So an ode to libraries from Heartstring Samplery. Here is the needle minder that goes with this project. It is an old school library date due card in the back. This is the project bag that goes for it, that goes with it. It is from Carrie Sews For You on Instagram, on Etsy. And here is the start that I made. It's 300 some odd stitches, This is being stitched on 36 count Kelpie from Red Thicket, who is a local to me fabric dyer that I'm very excited to have found. I started this, of course, on my birthday, which is July 28th of this year, and my chart says I am 0% of the way finished. But hold on, let me get you the real number. Okay, my real number is 4.58% finished. When I put this away, I'll update my spreadsheet of awesome so that that is more accurate. But I really just, I started across the bottom of the book. So this is the left edge, and then this is the spine of the book, and then the rest of the open book will go across in this direction, and then all the flowers and words will grow out of that. If you started, I asked everyone to start something bookish or library related for my birthday to celebrate with me, and a number of you actually started this very pattern. Now, Kat from Catkin and Lily started Book Dragon for someone else's birthday that was also requesting that everybody stitch something book themed, and so I'm going to count it. So this one will get more love before my next birthday. I don't have any plans to finish it before my next birthday because I don't have plans to finish anything. I enjoy the process, and I don't put a whole lot of pressure on myself to finish because that's where sadness goes. So I will put these away. I'm going to, I like that I'm editing as I go. Now some of these you'll see have the needle in. I don't leave the needle in. I have another system, but because I had to take off all of the needle minders and take all of the hoops off and everything else for the WIP parade, I left the needles in because I match my needle to the project, and I started taking them out and putting them on a pin cushion, and then I realized that that I wasn't going to be able necessarily to get the needle back with the project the way I hoped I would be able to. So I just left the needles in. And there's also, just so you're aware, there's also going to be dangling threads all over the place. So get over it. The next one that I have to show you is a long boy. This is Beach Boardwalk by Country Cottage Needleworks. I'm putting it on the board now so that I don't get whacked in the face with the extra fabric because there is a lot of extra fabric. So this is one of Country Cottage Needleworks towns. So it has a very long, skinny piece of fabric. And so there are, I think, 7 total of these towns, 7 total of these little buildings. Here's the one that I'm stitching first. It is the boardwalk, which is the center. I grew up in New Jersey, and I grew up down the shore. My grandfather was a police chief in a tiny, tiny, tiny little New Jersey shore town called Lavallette, which is between Seaside and Ortley. And if you've never been to the New Jersey shore, you probably don't know that Lavallette even exists because it's a teeny tiny town. However, if you do have a Jersey Mike's near you, Jersey Mike's used to have a map of Point Pleasant on the wall, and a lot of the decor does not have that map anymore. But if you have one that still has the map, the house that my mother and subsequently I grew up in is on that map. My mom designed the flag employed by Point Pleasant Beach High School, and my aunt was in the same graduating class as Pete Cancro. So I can tell you that Jersey Mike's are the most authentic New Jersey sandwich you're going to get outside of New Jersey. And anytime I feel homesick, I just go literally down the street. I have a Jersey Mike's within walking distance, which is one of the greatest things about these not so great rental property, and that is that I have a Jersey Mike's like literally right down the street, so that I can feel at home. But as soon as I saw the completed work of this, there was a model stitched at my local needlework shop, which is Pine Needles in Utah. As soon as I saw the model stitch hanging on the wall, it immediately brought me back to my youth. One of the buildings that is going to go in here is a souvenir shop, and my grandparents owned and operated a souvenir shop called Barnegat House before I was born. So I'm going to be recharting where it reads souvenir shop across the top of that to read Barnegat House. But so I started stitching this. This may end up being a summer stitch just generally, but it doesn't have any current rotation plans. I started Beach Boardwalk in April 5th of 26, and while I say I am 26.38% finished, that is with the boardwalk section only. I don't have the other sections calculated, mostly because I don't have them in markup to be able to do the complicated percentage math. The next one that I have to show you is one of the early starts in my floss tube journey. I think I got this. No, that's interesting. Okay, I got this at 1-2-3 Stitch. I was gonna say I think I got this when I was traveling someplace, but no, I got it at 1-2-3 Stitch. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I really love bees. And so this is the bee biscornu from Crochette Gogo. And I think this is the first biscornu that I've ever started. Obviously not finished because it's a WIP parade, not a finished parade. But here is my progress. I started this on January 25th of 2026. I am 28.75% finished, and this is being stitched on Witchelt 32 count whisper with the called for DMC threads. This is going to, you can see on the chart here that there's going to be a lot of backstitch on those wings. So that is that. I have had to tear out this bee's body because I was a stitch off and it would have impacted other things. And also, I'm a tear it out and fixer. Because again, I love the process of stitching. And if the process of stitching is my favorite part, then I'm going to dedicate some little extra time to getting it perfect when I stitch it. This next one is, this was the pre-stitching for the Midsummer Stitch, for one of the classes for Midsummer Stitch 2026. It was started on July 3rd, 2026. This is Blooming Quakers by Hello from Liz Matthews. This is being stitched on 32 count Alpenglow. Yeah, 32 count Alpenglow from Cedar River Linens, which is easily my favorite linen. It's being stitched using the called for Belsoise. Right? Called for Belsoise? Yep. Called for Belsoise. I am 96.39% finished. Here is what it will look like when it's finished. I really just have these gold stars that need to go in, and I'm actually, on the advice of Jandy Dean, I am cutting off the top 30 rows of this pattern because this is actually destined to become a utility item. The class that I took at Midsummer Stitch was the fabric journal cover. Floss tube nose is starting. From Modern Hoopla. So this is the kit. And Jandy in the class shows us how to apply this kit, cover it with this, and then have a functioning journal. So I learned once I got this kit, I learned that we're not making a book cover, we're making a traveler's journal. Traveler's journals are a well-known, established format for journals. And so you can find a lot of goodies, a lot of pre-formatted journal pages and things that go into them. So some of the things that I've gotten to finish this with are, now this kit comes with a bunch of elastics. I don't like the multicolored elastics on this project, so I bought some just plain black elastics. Again, these are specifically for travelers' journals. I got these, I got two of these. This clips in, and this is a pen loop, so I can keep my pen right with it. And then these are these cool steampunky binder clips. You generally use them to hold the sides, to hold the pages open while you're working in your journal. So I have those. And then because it's an established format with a devoted following, not unlike Moleskine notebooks, you can get a number of pre-formatted journal books, which I have done. So these are the three that I currently have to put in there. The format of a traveler's journal, you can see in the picture here, is so that a number of journal, like individual specialized journal books, go in there, and they're held in place by these elastics. So this one is a weekly layout with some notes pages. This one is my current favorite thing. It is a sticker book. So these are release pages. So you can stick stickers to this, and then look at all your stickers and enjoy all your stickers. And then if you want to use it, you can still peel it off and then stick it like a sticker. So I got one of those. And then I realized while I was preparing for this video, I had intended for this notebook to just be a blank, undated monthly calendar, so I can write down what I've stitched and use it like as my book of days. However, I realized that it's not just months. So I don't need the weekly pages because I have the other book. So I don't know if I'm going to return this one and see if I can find just calendars, or if I'm going to return this one and get just a plain notebook and then use the weekly pages in here. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I have 3 of these though, because they came in a fun little kit. They came in a bundle. Some other accoutrements that you can get for your traveler's journal are, again, everything is held in with these elastics. But I got this. It's like a folder, and you can stick things in here. So if you have just stuff you want to shove in there, like thread cards or something, those can go in there. And then additionally, I got this one, which has a zipper pouch to keep accoutrement, and also this has a large opening, and then these are like little credit card slots. So those will go in there. I don't know how I'm going to use my traveler's journal yet, and I don't know like what accoutrement I'm going to need for my traveler's journal. But as far as I understand, the people that I've spoken to that have traveler's journals, the kind of through line of a traveler's journal is that it customizes, like you customize it to yourself, but also it evolves as your need for it evolves. So that is this stitch. This will probably be, as a spoiler for my next regular floss tube video, this will probably be my next WIP, because again, I only need to do the little gold stars up here, and then of course sew the book. Somewhere in here, in this pile of sewing room, I also have the canvas lining fabric that Jandy recommended, and the pearl cotton to be stitching in the elastics and whatnot. So that is Blooming Quakers by Hello from Liz Matthews. That is WIP number 8. WIP number 9, I don't think has had any progress since the last time you saw it, but we'll see. Okay, WIP number 9. I don't know if this has had any progress since the last time you've seen it, as I said, and it's only been this time that I have taken any photos. I didn't take photos before my WIP parade in January. So as I was ironing all of these, I took photos, and so that way I can have some benchmarks of progress. I might make a slideshow and put it in my reels later. This project bag here is books, and it has a little Alice in Wonderland book charm here. And it's all books because I love books. This is also from Layla P Creations, Corynne from Corey Creates. Here is the chart for fully booked. This was my 2025 book reading tracker, the tracker for the books that I've read in 2025. I set my goal as 83 for that year because there were 83 books on this, and my intention was to stitch each book as I read it. That didn't happen. I'm still going to finish it, and I'm still going to label it my 2025 book tracker. I don't have a percentage completed because this is not in markup. I'm stitching this from the paper pattern because none of the backstitching imports into markup, and this is a very backstitch heavy chart, as you can see from the details there. So I'm currently working on filling in the second row there. This I don't have a little fabric tag. Wait one, I'll tell you what kind of fabric it's being stitched on. I have to use my handy dandy spreadsheet of awesome to look at the ID number for the fabric, which is 41. Go to the fabric tab. Fabric number 41 is 14 count Charles Craft Ada in oatmeal. This is back when I was exclusively an Ada stitcher. I don't hate Ada, but I don't enjoy it, especially now that I do a lot of fractional stitches and over one stitches, and they're just a lot more complicated on Ada. But here is fully booked, what I call my bookshelf 2025. When this completes, it will be, let's see, do I have, oh, that's the wrong sheet. This will be 6 by 6 when it's finished. There's nothing on top of or down the sides of the bookshelf. So it will be this size when it's finished, and I'll probably chart. So the chart reads fully booked in here. And so I might design a header that reads, book tracker 2025 or whatever, something interesting. That is fully booked. The chart is by Fandom in Stitches. I found it on Etsy. It has this is a big thick packet, but it's got color and black and white, and with the back stitching in color and with everything in black and white. It's got a lot of different permutations for you to be able to stitch it well. However, all of the permutations include extensive back stitching, which makes it not really play very well with the various stitching programs. Okay, the next pattern, the next chart, the next project that I have for you is it's called Collider Quilt from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. The onlyest picture that comes with it is this one here. Theoretically, it's a quilt pattern. It looks a lot like the Storm on the Sea quilt pattern. It's not exactly, but this was a kit provided by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. Well, I purchased it. They made it. A kit from Caterpillar cross stitch. I start this on January 20th of 2025. It is being stitched on 16 count Aida, 16 count white Aida that came in the kit, and all the fibers, also all the flosses came with the kit. Here's my progress. I took the time to put this into markup so that I could track it a little bit. But this is about a quarter finished, 20.25% finished. It's being stitched in a Q-snap, which I don't love. I left it in the Q-snap because this is a travel project. And so my travel project needs to stay travelable. And I know that it's a travel project because it's in this bag from Layla P Creates. Again, that's Corynne from Corey Creates 08. Layla P Creations is the Etsy shop, and it's all of it's a bunch of vanity license plates with cute sayings. New Jersey is right here, and they repeat frequently. New Jersey's right there, and Utah it's the skier license plate. Where is it? Where the Harry is the Utah license plate? It's the skier. It's the guy going shoop, shoop, shoop. I don't recognize the New Jersey license plate at all. But here is the Utah license plate, sightseeing. And again, the New Jersey license plate, great one. I haven't seen a license plate look like that from New Jersey. It's close, but it's not the same. So that is Collider Quilt. Next up is WIP number 11, which is from an Etsy creator called Pretty Rude Things. I don't find this particularly rude. This is Come Back with a Warrant. My vision for this is to finish it in a hoop and hang it in the center of a beautiful door wreath that hangs on the outside of my door. And so it's got this, imagine walking up to my front door and it's got this beautiful wreath, and then this hoop hangs in the center of it and it reads, Come Back with a Warrant. It makes me very happy. I started this on January 1st, 2026. This is my progress so far. This is ghosting from where I had to pull out some green stitching that I did not, some green DMC, because this is all DMC. I had to pull out some of the green leaves that I miscounted. This is 26.29%. It's being stitched on 16 count antique white Aida from DMC, which tells you how old it is. And it should finish enough to fit in a 7-inch hoop. It's my calculations here on my handy dandy spreadsheet say it'll finish at 5.9 inches by 5.9 inches, which might be just too small for a 6-inch hoop. So it'll probably go in a 7-inch hoop. I'm not showing you the project bags that are boring. This is just a project bag from Target when we still shopped at Target. I have just realized that the view that I was looking at on my handy dandy spreadsheet did not include information on the charts that were part of Milestone Manor. So far, you've seen After the Roses, Beach Boardwalk, and the Bee Biscornu that are part of Milestone Manor. And also Come Back with a Warrant was part of Milestone Manor. So this is first of all, the project bag, also from Layla P Creations. This is also an African block print fabric. This is Shaded Stitcheries, Data Portraits in Paris, Part 2. This is a visual representation of a series of art installations that W.E.B. Du Bois did for the 1900 World's Fair Paris expedition in Paris, depicting the realities of life as a Black person in 1900 in America, using data rather than emotions or feelings. So he did a series of artworks, a series of paintings that were installed for this purpose. They were installed in, I think it was called the Negro Building, which was like way out in the corner. You had to go looking for it. But these were works that, these are Nuri's representations of works that W.E.B. Du Bois did for that World's Fair. And they were a series of drops starting in February and dropping every Sunday between February, which is Black History Month in the US, and Juneteenth, which is the holiday that commemorates when Black people in Texas finally learned that they were freed by Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation about 2 years after the end of the American Civil War. Just nobody told them until we got down there, or not the end of the American Civil War. After Lincoln officially issued the Emancipation Proclamation freeing the slaves, it took until the Union soldiers fought their way down to Texas and told them for anybody to let them know. So between February and Juneteenth, there was a drop every Sunday. I tried to keep up, and I did it really, I think, a great job. I think this is 1, and then this is section 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. I think I might be making that up. So I think I kept up with them, but that's when I started with Milestone Manor. And I have put this project into Milestone Manor. So it is someplace in my grandma's house. Don't know where. So this hasn't come back out yet. However, I do have now, the entire chart is out. So I have downloaded the entire chart and put it into markup. So I know that I am 26.29. Nope. I don't know how much I am finished. Hold on one second, I'll tell you. I'm so well prepared. I don't have that information. Because while I downloaded the full chart and I downloaded each individual section, I did not upload the full chart into markup. So I don't know how far along I am. I think this is 5 sections. If you stitch this, let me know, but I think this is 5 sections. So I think I am 5 of 22 finished. These are called for DMCs. This is being stitched on 28 count white 28 count white even weave. It's DMC Monaco. So that's what this is being stitched on. And this, I started this on March 2nd of 2026. I already have the frame picked out for this. It will be, it'll finish about 9 inches. So I have a 10-inch frame picked out that will be perfect for this, and it will hang. I know exactly where it will hang in my house as well, so that I think about what I am doing to lift melanated voices and decentralize my own voice every time I walk past it. This next work was inspired by EJ from Sunshine Stitchers. EJ and Shelia, of course, the ever-present, and then Deb, the infrequent joiner of Sunshine Stitchers. I first started watching them when I still lived in Florida as well. I'm sad that I never got the opportunity to interact with them. However, EJ inspired this piece because this is a thread ends project. So EJ has a project that when you have a piece of floss that is too big to justify just pitching the whole thing, like maybe you only used 10 stitches out of the whole thread. The piece of floss is too big to justify pitching it, but it's too small really to consider a full piece of floss. I don't like putting floss back on my floss ring when I know I'm done with that color and I'm not going to come back to it. Things like A Worthy Patriot and A Sampler for Grace are different. I keep when I'm doing a stitch along because I don't know if I'm going to use that piece again. But I will often, especially with DMC, because DMC is so cheap. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, fancy floss is cheap too. It's $2.50 a hank, which sounds like a lot relative to the 67 cents that I pay for DMC, but it's still only $2.50. And of course, only holds true for me and for Americans generally, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, if I don't want to fiddle around with that leftover piece, I have a little bowl next to my stitching spot downstairs where my new Lowry stand is, that I put my my orts into my usable orts. I have an ort jar for my throwaways, and that gets emptied periodically. And then I have this little bowl where I keep my usable pieces of thread, and I put them into. I now have two. I now have two thread ends project. Thanks to EJ. One is where I will use all of the greens and colorful threads, and this one now is where I will use any browns and grays and blacks. So this is the chart. It is from Money Cat in Stitches on Etsy. I think I paid $2 for this. It reads, would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. It is a quote by Michael Scott. Here is my work thus far. So I have done a colorful border with my thread ends, and now I'm just going to be using the dull gray colors and whatnot for the inside. And you'll see when you see the other thread ends project, you will understand why. This is 36 count raw from Zweigart. I started this project on February 12th of 26, and I am 44.54% completed. And I actually have a nice pile of thread ends that need to go into these. I have that little bowl right now, but I have filled up, I think, 2 of those wee little Bon Maman jam jars. When the project bag is this, I'm just skipping it. These are just some Amazon project bags. They're nothing fancy. I think I got 8 of them for $5 or $10 or some junk. I don't know. Because I don't like those ones that are the plastic mesh, like the coated mesh with the one zipper, the colorful zipper on it. I watched somebody, a floss tuber, struggle. Might have been Liz Matthews, struggle mightily with the zippers on the top of those, and I said, no, I don't need those. And I like that I can hang this up. So that is my feared or loved. The next one I'm very excited about. So this next WIP is being stitched along with one of my favorite stitchers, Ashley from Ashley X Stitches. She and I, a few months ago, bonded very heavily over Project Hail Mary in the theaters. It is, if you haven't seen Project Hail Mary, if you haven't read the book, if you haven't heard the audiobook, this is one of the greatest stories about the power of friendship, the responsibility that you have to your friend if you want to claim someone as your friend. And also there's lots of math, which made me really happy. There's less math in the movie, but if you like math, the book and the audiobook have a lot of math. And the audiobook, prefaced by, I have not yet listened to Dungeon Crawler Carl, it's on the list. But the audiobook is, to date, the best produced audiobook I have ever heard. It was a delight to listen to. So this chart is Fist My Bump. This is from Honeydew Crafting Company on Etsy. This is my needle minder for this project. I named him Mark Watley because she named hers Ryland Grace. We have the same the same needle minder from the same seller on Etsy, because she named hers Ryland Grace, which is the character from Project Hail Mary. I named mine Mark Watley, which is the character from The Martian, also by Andy Weir. Just read all of Andy Weir's works. They are all just so fantastic, so well thought out, and they're very deep and moving, just generally. Even though they are about space, they're not science fiction, they are science plausible. I can't say science fact because they're still a fiction story, but they're science plausible. They are real stories that could really happen. He researches real things. Just watch literally any interview with Andy Weir and how he came up with things like how he created Rocky, the Martians, or the aliens. how he created his internal system. It's fascinating. So anyway, uh, Ashley and I discovered that we had the same Stormy Night vintage Stormy Night. Why do I not have a tag on this? Hold please. Fabric number 70 is, this is Stormy Night vintage from Zweigart, 36 count. We both had the same fabric. I think she has Ada and I had linen in my stash. And so we decided to start this together. I love it. I'll see in her next video how far behind her I am. I don't know. I think we're about even last time I looked. I flew with this to Pittsburgh and back. This was my airplane stitch because it's actually a remarkably easy stitch, but it is very stitch dense. This is being stitched with the called for DMCs. It was started April 30th of 2026, and I am 14.37% finished. The next project I have for you is my dedicated remembrance stitch. So I am, as I'm sure everybody knows at this point, I am a United States Army combat veteran. I served one tour, which was 13 months long, in Iraq in 2004. And every year on Memorial Day, I have a little ritual that I do. I read the book Night Watch by Terry Pratchett. It's part of the City Watch series of his Discworld novels. It is science fantasy, but well, I guess it's fantasy. What do they call it now? Presumptive fantasy, something like that. It's kind of in the same genre as Lord of the Rings, but not as doesn't take itself as seriously. So this year I added a dedicated remembrance stitch to that ritual. So usually I sequester myself for the weekend. I don't make plans because Memorial Day is not a happy holiday for me. It's not one I celebrate, and I'm certainly not going to go to a barbecue or to the beach on Memorial Day. Even though it's the unofficial start of summer, I don't celebrate it that way because I celebrate it the way it's supposed to be, which is a remembrance of our fallen service members, not veterans. We have our own day in November, not currently serving people. Armed Forces Day is in June, but specifically Memorial Day, which is to memorialize the fallen of our service members in May. And so usually for that entire weekend, I will just sequester myself. I have run through so many copies of that paperback of that book because I've been back from my deployment for 20 years. So I've run through so many copies of that particular book that I have purchased a library binding. So it is essentially a hardcover paperback. It's the same shape and size as a trade paperback, but it has a cardboard cover instead of a paper cover. I've also since gotten it on audiobook, which has enabled this last year for me to amend my process a little bit to include a memorial stitch. In this case, it is the Flanders Fields Biscornu from Heartstring Samplery. I will put a link in the description to the Flanders Fields poem. It is inside here, and I know it by heart, but I'm not going to bore anybody with reciting it, and I'm not going to open this and run the risk of you seeing the chart. So I will drop a link to another YouTube video in the description where you can hear the dramatic reading of the Flanders Fields poem by John McCrae. It is in a gorgeous Whippakeepa from the New England Stitcher. You have to say it like that because New England, it's a Whippakeepa. It is beautifully constructed, this Whippakeepa. This is I love these, by the way, Stephanie. It has pockets here. This is a needle holder. I use it to put my needle minder when I'm not using it. This is a little project tag that I don't use. It's not part of my process, but I'm leaving it there because I flip and love it. I think that's Hatteras. No, that can't be Hatteras Light. Why would it be Hatteras Light? That doesn't make any sense. Stephanie, if you're watching this, tell me what lighthouse it is. Anyway, floss tube knows. So anyway, this gorgeous Wipakipa that I asked Stephanie if she was going to be making any patriotic ones, and she said yes, in fact she has, and she sent me an email with like 5 or 6 different fabric combinations, and this is the one I chose. So this is going to live in this. This is only going to get worked on days of remembrance. So I'm leaving that open-ended. It's not just Memorial Day. Veterans Day isn't really a day of remembrance, but if I have a number of my fellow soldiers, whose yahrzeit, which is the Hebrew word for death anniversary, whose yahrzeit I observe. I may take it out and stitch it on their yahrzeit. I may, anytime I'm in my fields, take it out and stitch it. I'm leaving it open-ended. But here is my progress on the first side. Of course, it is 4 crossed poppies there, and then the other side is like the bottoms of them, and then there are also like little bitty poppies in the corner on the bottom. So this is my top section. I am 41.02% finished with the top section. I started this on May 21st, 2026, which was the first day of the Memorial Day weekend this year, and I stitched it throughout the entire weekend while I listened to my Memorial Day book. And it is being stitched on 40 count fog from Picture This Plus. I don't have very many stitches that are specific to events. This is one of them. And I don't have very many things that I refuse to stitch when it's not time for that thing. I'm not a seasonal stitcher, but I don't go out of my way to stitch Christmas. I don't do a lot of Halloween at all because it's not my jam. So I don't really have a lot of Halloween stitching. I'm not opposed to stitching on things when they're not, but this particular pattern has a purpose, and the purpose is remembrance for me, as a kind of a meditation on my fallen, not just my fallen, but our collective fallen, to include some of my Canadian counterparts who I've lost, some of my UK counterparts who I've lost. And so when I stitch on this, I kind of meditate on those folks. I remember the things about them that I enjoyed, the things about them that made me want to keep them near me, the things about them that made me sad that they were no longer with us, that kind of thing. So my remembrance stitch, Flanders Fields Biscornu. So the next thing I have is my second thread ends project, inspired by EJ from Sunshine Stitchers. This is my first Carolyn Manning, and my only Carolyn Manning thus far. This is the Flower a Day. This particular purchase was inspired by Catherine from Catherine Stitching Chronicles. She is also stitching this. However, I am just using my thread ends for this. This is why I said I am using I'm going to take the greens and the flower colored threads from my thread ends bowl for this, and then I'm leaving the rest for the Michael Scott quote, and that's just so that I can have lots of pretty flower colors to stitch. You are going to be so incredibly impressed with this start. It is a remarkable start. I feel so accomplished from this start. I began this stitch on May 16th. I am 0.43% complete. I am not in markup. I'm not assigning any colors to anything because I'm deciding as I pull them out of the bowl. What I'm doing is I'm just marking off the stitches. So I am 0.43%. I have only gotten this one little flower. Is that even, that is 3 different colors of blue even. Let's see if I can get it to focus real nice. Yeah, 3 different colors of blue in there. Very fiddly, fantastic, love it a lot. Like I said, 0.43% finished. And this is one of my favorite fabric names ever. This is 40 count T Earl Grey Hot from Lap and Loops. That is my start. It will eventually be 11 by 11. So like that ish. So, but this is an upper left, right? No, it's not even an upper left start. What flower is that? I don't even know what flower that is. Where the Harry did I start? Let's look and see where I started. Oh, I had it upside down. That is an upper left start. I was looking at it like this. It goes like this, and then that makes this an upper left start. You just can't see that little yellow flower. So for context, that is what I have finished. I'm so accomplished, you guys. I'm so proud of myself. I do amazing things. That's what it is. This next WIP, I hate. I hate it. I buried it deep in Milestone Manor because I am hoping I never have to look at it again. If it gets called on Milestone Manor, I don't know what I'm going to do because I flip and hate it. I hate it so hard. It is this Dimensions Kit flower truck. And I can't show you the chart, but the chart is really largely the reason that I hate it because the chart is a flippin' nightmare. You should have seen me trying to put that chart into markup. Holy cats. Okay, so this was started. Hang on, I got to clip it to the board because it's so little. This was started on December 27th of 2024. When we lived in Florida, my best friend came to visit, and she brought my godson, who is now 13-ish. I'm the world's worst godmother, and I can't remember how old he is because I'm a terrible person. But I call him best friend. He calls me Aunt Best Friend because I call my best friend best friend. We don't use names. We only use best friend. And so until he was like 7, he thought my name was best friend. And that's just what he calls me. But best friend and I were stitching, and he wanted to join in. So I took him into my sewing room and showed him like the little like Michael's kits and things that I had laying around. And he chose this flower truck. And he got maybe 4 stitches into it and bailed. And I don't blame him in the least. This is how far I've gotten into it. You'll see how dirty, you can see how dirty this fabric is. There's like actual dirt on the back. I hate this thing. I don't even care. It is 8.93% finished, which is awful. And there's only 3,500 stitches. You would think I could just buckle down Winsaki and get it finished, but no, I hate it. So I will stitch it in the context of Milestone Manor, and only within the context of Milestone Manor. This is the only one that I am sad is currently locked in my grandmother's house that I can't access the rest of the time. But I don't, it's some kind of called for Ada. The fabric and the Ada all came with the thing. I hate it, and it can go away. I'm done with it now. Goodbye. The next one I'm very excited about, and this one I am sad that it's locked in my grandma's house in Milestone Manor, because I can't work on it, which means that it is now August, and I am still working on the April release. But this is the Fox and Rabbit Mystery Stitch Along. I don't have 8% completed. I am currently working on April's drop. This is what it looks like as of August. This is August, so you have April, May, June, July, August. So this is what it will look like design-wise as of August. I have changed all but 2 of the colors. The needle minder I use on this reads sometimes antisocial, always anti-fascist. And so here is my progress. This was my first hand-dyed linen. This is Fiber on a Whim Sapphire, and it is 36 count. Bren and Karen didn't really put in a called for floss list. They said you needed a light color like ecru, a light blue, and a light brown. I pulled a light brown and I didn't like it, so I substituted. There's one fancy floss and it's this red. This is Red Rocks. I didn't intend for this to be a patriotic piece. I think I'm going to intend for it to be an Australian patriotic piece because Australia uses the same flag colors that the US does. But this is an Australian patriotic piece. So again, this was January, and then we came down the side for February, and then March, and then April. This is also in Milestone Manor. However, this is my front door at Milestone Manor, my grandmother's front door. So this is where I go if I take too many damage points and have to return to my spawn point to heal. And so this is a relaxing restorative stitch. I can't take any hit points if I don't progress on this and meet any milestones, because again, it's a restorative stitch. I just roll the dice and stitch that many pieces and then move on. That many stitches and move on. But so this is the Fox and Rabbit Mystery Stitch Along for 2026. If you hear strange popping noises, that is my rolly chair, because I bought my rolly chair for $10 at a local thrift store because it was in perfect condition, but occasionally the hydraulics move weird and it makes like a boom boom noise. So I promise you, I am not flatulent. Not that it matters, because everybody has a body. The next one that I have to show you is technically a finish, but not. Because it is Gather Pine Cones from Hands On Design. And it is one of a trio of little jobbies here. It's one of a trio of little stitches that will go on these Chantel 141 paddles. So there you have that for scale. So I have finished this one, right? Yeah, I have finished this one. So I am technically like 39% or 38% finished or something. So here is that. There is a lot of backstitch and a lot of confetti in these. This is being stitched on, why did I come around this side? 32 count platinum from Witchelt. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of cardboard that is going to be the size that I want to wrap this, or that I want to wrap this around, and then draw it on the back with like a heat erasable pen or something. It doesn't matter because it will be in the margins. It's not on the stitching surface, so it doesn't matter if it comes back or leaves a yellow line, which they do. Ask me about my senior research and my undergraduate thesis that I had to defend for half an hour. But anyway, so I'm going to put the other 2 on here. I also have the other 3 seasons, which are Gather Pumpkins, Gather Butterflies, and Gather Wildflowers. They are not considered WIPs. They are considered kits because I'm considering this one full unit. So, WIP. I'm thinking about doing a separate kit parade because I have a lot more kits than I did in January too. I think I might do a kit parade also. That might be my next video. It's a kit parade. It's probably be a lot shorter. As I'm recording this, I'm only at 1:12 right now, an hour and 12 minutes, which I'm like really proud of because we're more than halfway finished. So I did not mention, again, because it's on another screen, that the Fox and Rabbit Mystery Stitch Along is also, I did mention it. It is in Milestone Manor, so never mind. I tripped myself up because this is also currently in Milestone Manor. And I don't know where in my grandma's house this one is either, which stinks because I wanted to give it to somebody as a gift, which reminds me, if you are my bestie Michi from Florida, I'm going to need you to immediately fast forward to this timestamp. And I'm going to give her time to fast forward to that timestamp because I don't think she wants to spoil surprises. So I don't know how to show you this the best. Let me see about flipping it here. Okay, I might do that because there are two pieces that are going to be cut apart. So I stitched them very far apart on the fabric, and I'm trying to put the board behind it so that you can see the one. And then I can also show you the other one. So that should work. Okay. So I'm assuming that Michi is no longer here and that she can follow directions. So this is the Haunted Stitches Needlebook from Stacy Nash. I almost said Niecy Nash. That's a whole different person. Haunted Stitches Needlebook from Stacy Nash. This is 73.12% finished, and I finished it. I started it on November 8th of 2025 when I still lived in Florida. This is one of the Stacy Nash needle books. Oh, I have it right here. So this is the needle book, and there's some construction involved. But there, the back is also stitched, and this is my progress on the back. These are where the stitches still have to go. When I was ironing this, I said, that is way out from where it's supposed to be. It doesn't look right at all. So that's going to have to come out and get replaced. But this was a lot of fun to stitch. This was my first experience stitching on 40 count. This necessitated me discovering that readers come in 3+, which I never needed to know before, and which now I use daily. Like I said, that is 73.12% finished. The needle minder that I'm using for this is a Fat Happy Orange Cat, because I have had a soul cat who is an orange tabby, and also Michi has a big floofer orange Maine Coon guy named Gouda, and this needle minder reminded me of both Fat Tony and Gouda. So Goody Booty, as we call him. And so this is being stitched on 40 count flax from Zweigart. Welcome back, Michi. Michi doesn't usually watch my floss tubes. I'm just making sure that she doesn't accidentally get damaged. That last one that I'm going to show you, even though Michi is back, that last one that I already showed you is a bag from Layla P Creations. Again, that is Corynne from Corey Creates 08, one of my favorite and first floss tubers that I followed. I really like her bags. If you need to get a Nurge size 4 in a bag, this is the one. They're good. They're a good size bag. By contrast, this is the one that I made myself, which is a bit smaller and will fit a Nurge size 3, but not a 4. So if you have like the bigger Nurges that you need to fit in, Corynne's project bags work really well for that. That chart, that pattern that I'm not going to mention because Michi is back, is also in Milestone Manor, and I haven't encountered it yet. This next one, however, is in Milestone Manor, and I think is in the kitchen. The living room might be the living room. I think it's the living room. So I have opened the room and encountered this monster. at Milestone Manor, and I am plugging away with it. And there's a great big purple thread right in the viewing way. This is Hedgehog and Hyacinth from the Blue Flower. I am stitching with all of the called for on this, with the exception of Conservatory and the two cottage garden threads. Two of the three cottage garden threads that are called for, I'm just using the DMC conversion. However, because I am stitching this on 40 count, I'm stitching with one thread, and she has one blended thread. So I am instead using, I can't remember who it is. It's Concord. I can't remember if it's Weeks. I think it's Weeks. Concord. So that is the one concession. That is the one variegated thread that I'm using. Here is my progress. I love this little guy so much. Oh, I didn't show you the needle minder that I'm using is also a hedgehog. Hedgehog and Hyacinth from the Blue Flower. I started this on April 3rd of 2026. I am 69.57% completed. I got this, I bought this chart from Primrose Cottage when I drove down to Vegas and stopped in St. George on my way, and got to shop at Primrose Cottage and spend almost a month's rent while I was there. But I picked this up. It reminds me of one of my quilting besties named Tiffany from, she's on Facebook. She doesn't watch my YouTubes, but her college mascot were hedgehogs. So every time I see a hedgehog, it makes me think of Tiffany. And that reminds me that I need to text her and check on her, because I haven't talked to her in a little bit. So I'll be right back. Okay, I have checked on Tiffany. Well, I've sent the text message. An important part of being friends with somebody is checking in on them. And I am not good at that. I am working at being better at that. But that means anyone you consider your friend, not just, not just people that you see all the time or can do things for you. When you're thinking about people, text them, is what I'm trying to say. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going on in their life, and you don't know how important that one little text could be to somebody. So, Hedgehog and Hyacinth, 69.57%. This is being stitched on 40 count plein air from Zweigart. I think it might be spelled plein air. But I was an art history minor, so it's plein air as far as I'm concerned. The project bag for this was made by an amazing YouTube creator called Wandering Foot, the Wandering Foot channel. Her name is Katie. She's absolutely amazing. This was her first project bag ever. She's very proud of it. I don't know why I'm talking about myself in the third person. I'm very proud of it. You can't see, I have a rolling cart here with all of my WIPs on it, but I have another rolling cart over here that has probably 20 yards of random fabrics on it that have all been pressed and are ready to get cut and made into more project bags, because I would really love to get everything out of plastic. Project bags. The next one that I have for you, which is, this is WIP number 22, 22, 22. This is the Hobbit House from Cottage Garden Samplery. And I am a hobbit, and I love hobbitses. They are tricksy hobbitses, and I'm a very tookish hobbit. Anyway, this was part of the Spring Start Fest that that my stitching bestie Jess at Herobornstitches and I decided we were going to do. And we have, so we just kitted up a bunch of junk, and we were just like, you know what? If we start a new thing every day, we don't even care. We're just going to do it. So we started April Fool's Day, and it went for a little bit, and I'm still kind of feeling it, Jess. I think we might need a summer start fest. But this is Hobbit House from Cottage Garden Samplery. I am 3.66% finished with this. So I started it on April Fool's Day, on April 1st. It is not a giant eyeball. Looks like it might be. It's not. It's this hobbit hole right here. And so that's as far as I got, 3.66%. This is being stitched on Picture This Plus 40 count Oracle. I really like the spottiness. I'm not really a modeled fabric person. If there is modeling, I like to be subtle. Cedar River Linens has modeled fabric, but you can't really see the definitions of the modeling, you know. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but there's an awful lot of stitching on this, and so I feel like any place that isn't stitched, I think the modeling will be fine on this one. I really like Hobbitses. I'm glad I started this, and I missed this one, so I might get it out. I do need to stitch ahead on the Worthy Patriot stitch along for a bit, because I'm going to be in Massachusetts for 2 weeks during one of the drops, and so I want to stitch ahead. So maybe after I finish the next section, I'll pick this up. I kind of miss it. If you are boyfriend doesn't watch my YouTube videos, but if you are boyfriend, I'm going to need you to fast forward to this timestamp right here. Let's give him a couple of minutes to follow directions, which he is very good at, by the way. Not that I, boss him around, but you know what I'm trying to say. He is, you all know how wonderful my partner is. I don't need to talk about how wonderful my partner is. He's fantastic, and he's my favorite, and I'm so glad that I have him. And his mom is a delight. I'm so glad I have his mom, too. Let me check my mic real quick and make sure it's still, yep, still green. Cool. It's my first time with the mic, and I'm very concerned that I didn't charge it for long enough. So again, we have another thread. I'm assuming that boyfriend is no longer here. This is the project bag. I'm going to give him a little more time to take me seriously. This is the project bag that I have this in. It is from Maggie G Makes on Etsy. This is a smaller sized one, which just perfectly fits a Nerge size 3, to give you an idea of that perfection. So I first saw this stitched by Holly at House of Hood. She did an amazing job, and she stitched this for her 10th anniversary with her beloved Jason, who is also a treat. And my 10th anniversary is coming up in October. Holy cats, it's in October. My 10th anniversary is coming up in October. And the sentiment expressed on this was just so precisely what I wanted to say that I decided I needed to stitch it as well. So this is from The Gilded Moth on Etsy. She sells on Etsy. It reads, "I would recognize you anywhere, in any body, in any lifetime." And so this is, I explained it in one of my YouTubes, but it's from a fan fiction, not actually from anything, but it's regarding Achilles and Patroclus. So, not in the Aeneid. Which one is Achilles and Patroclus in? Aeneid? Anyway, not actually said by them, written by Virgil or Homer, but from a fan fiction related to a movie related to them. It's convoluted. It's in a YouTube video. I'll put it right here. But anyway, so this is the quote. The needle minder that I use for this one is, if you're a Friends fan, you recognize it. It is the turkey with the sunglasses and the fez that Monica is wearing on her head to cheer up Chandler, and the first time that Chandler tells her he loves her. So that's why I chose that. And here is my work. So I have made some intentional choices because this is an important piece. I haven't gotten very far. I've gotten 10.43%. I started at June 25th. I can only work on it when boyfriend isn't here, which usually means Tuesday nights because he works late Tuesday nights. And sometimes when he's taking a nap, which is just about every day. But the 10th anniversary historically is the tin anniversary, Tin, tin anniversary. If you watch The New Girl, you know why, you know how I know that. But because this was our tin anniversary, I wanted to have a nod to tin somewhere. And what do you do with tin, right? So the fabric is 40 count arboreal from Cedar River Linens because it is green. My partner is colorblind, and the only color that he can see reliably are green, various greens. It's not his favorite shade of green. His favorite shade of green is Celtics green or Kelly green. And he loves bright rainbow colors. His clothes are very loud because he likes wearing colors that he can see. But he does, when this fabric came in the mail, I made sure that he could identify this immediately as green without having to hold it next to anything else, and he could. So that's why I chose this fabric. I chose Cedar River Linen because Jody at Cedar River Linen does a really amazing, she has a low water dye process, which we live in a desert, and that makes me happy. And I absolutely love the feel and the work, like how her fabrics work up, which is why Cedar River Linens is one of my favorite linens. So I chose deliberately to stitch it on the only green one that she has, so that I could have green. And then this is Belsois silk from Classic Colorworks in the color Love Dove, which both has a cute name and also is vaguely tin colored. It's kind of a grayish. Let me pull the bundle O thread so you can see it's kind of a silvery tin colored. So lots of meaning packed into this one little stitch, including the stitch mark, the needle minder, and everything else. So that one is for our 10th anniversary, which means I need to have it finished and framed by October 13th. So no, October 16th. No. I can't remember if it's the 13th or the 16th. It's the 13th. Yeah, 10/13. So I need to have it finished and framed. So that means I have to have it finished this month so that it can go to the framer no later than September 20th. So that, and I know our framer needs 2 to 3 weeks. So it needs to be to the framer no later than September 20th. So I better get cracking on this one. Thanks, friends, for helping me walk through that and put this back on my working radar. I am not going to drop it in the laundry basket that's right here. I'm going to put it on that rolling cart right there so I don't bury it again. This next one, which is WIP number 24, we're about 2/3. WIP number 24 is also stuck in my grandma's house in Milestone Manor. It's the hallway project, so it does actually get a lot of love when I'm playing Milestone Manor because every time I come out of a room, I have to stitch on it again. And it is one of the projects that made me rework the numbers of my stitches and try and figure out how the dice need to work and everything else, because I was getting milestones on things like hedgehogs and hyacinth, but not on this because there are a buttload of stitches in this. It is Martha Tucker 1776 from Tina Woltman from Early Workings. This was, I'm not sure if it's readily available now, but it was, at the time that I got it, a Liberty Hill exclusive. Liberty Hill is a needlework shop in Williamsburg, in the Williamsburg area in Virginia. And so I don't know how long it's an exclusive to Liberty Hill, but I started this on April 7th of 2026. And I got it directly from Liberty Hill Needleworks, thanks to Lady Huzzah mentioning it on her channel. And I paused her video to immediately go and check, and order it from Liberty Hill. I don't think it's on the website yet. I think I had to call. And I'm an elder millennial. I don't like doing that, but I did it. It was very important to me to have it. So here is my progress so far. I loved stitching this house. I did not know before this house how much I enjoyed stitching houses. And I don't know if it holds true for all houses, but I loved stitching on this house. I'm not finished with the roof line. I still have some roof and chimneys to go. Normally with a chart like this that is a historic sampler that has someone else's initials, I will normally leave the original stitcher's initials and put mine elsewhere. However, Martha Tucker was not a real person that existed, so I'm going to put my initials in there. So here is my progress, 21.87% completed. I am stitching this on 40 count cream and sugar from Fiber on a Whim. The cream and sugar from Fiber on a Whim was a cast off from my search for the perfect creamy neutral for my big 3 heartstring samplery project. It was rejected immediately for being entirely too yellow, but it works very well for this. So the project bag that this is in is this one. If you see this, so you might recognize who it is. It is from Ragtag Quilt Art on Etsy. And it, again, is exactly, this one is a little smaller. This one is a little smaller. And so this is the size 3. The size 3 has to go up in the top to fit in. It does. It fits comfortably. But size 3 is the biggest nurse that you would be able to get in this one. And it just fits the paper pattern. You have to like put it up in the lid, as it were, up in the header portion. You have to kind of, tuck the fabric, or tuck the fabric around it. The next one that I have for you is one I'm sure all of you have seen a number of times, not just from me, but in general. Because it is a currently active SAL. It is Museum After Midnight from Lola Crow. So for this one, I had a little debate with myself on how I was going to handle it, because I knew I was going to get behind, because that is life. I knew I was going to get behind, and so I kind of problem solved with boyfriend a little bit, and I said, as each drop comes out, am I going to stitch the drop as it comes out, or am I going to do each one in successive order? And I decided that I was going to do each one in successive order. I decided that after I started part of drop number 1. So this is just the description, but it is the Museum After Midnight Lola Crow SAL from 2026. This is the frame section here. This is a handy dandy thing you can just pick up at Staples. It's got, it's like a presentation folder, but the page protectors are in it. It's not a binder. So I intend to print the first page and the featured creatures for each of the drops and put them in the subsequent pages. I only have the first one because it's the only one that I've worked on so far. So again, here is the frame. And here is my progress on the frame. I don't have a percentage. Hang on, I do have a percentage. I am 75% even, completed with the frame. I did stitch some of the first section, but my percentage for the first section is not going to be accurate because it's going to include all of the frame pieces. But the first drop was over here and then over here. I'm sorry, over here. So I did some of that, but I didn't really. I decided that's when I decided that I wanted to do the frame, because all the subsequent sections build off the frame, and I didn't want to try and count over to here and then have it miscounted, and then I was going to have to like pull out bits later, and go back to that section. So anyway, here I am. I have the same needle minder as Ashley from Ashley X Stitches, because we match and we're good friends. The project bag for this one is from Tula Pink. I got it at my local quilt shop. And it is based on her Roar line of fabric. And I saw it and decided immediately that that was the project bag that I needed for my museum after midnight, because there's a lot of dinosaur and prehistoric creatures in this. So again, what did I say? It was 75% even, something like that. This fabric, when I find my little tag, oh, it doesn't have a little tag. What am I gonna do? Normally I put a little tag on my fabric. So this is fabric 107. Let's look at the fabric tab. Fabric 107, I know it's prehistoric. Fox and Rabbit prehistoric, 36 count linen, which I also thought was adorable that it was prehistoric. That's why I chose the one that I chose. So because Amy from Lola Crow said specifically, if you're going to stitch it on linen, don't get the called for color in linen because their linen is a different color. So she made in the pattern pre-stitch instructions and fabric suggestions, the suggested fabric is an even weave, and she does not recommend using linen because, as we all know, Ada, even weave, and linen all take dye differently. So she made some Ada suggestions and some linen suggestions, and this was one of the linen suggestions. And I loved that it was prehistoric and prehistoric, so that's when I chose. Hooray for Fox and Rabbit. So midnight at the museum after midnight, not midnight at the museum, which is different and has no relation to a movie that stars Ben Stiller, which is what I call it all the time. The next WIP that I have is, okay, most people I think at this point know that I really like Jane Austen. I don't know how you could not like Jane Austen, to be honest. And one of my very old friends, who I think has ceased being a misogynist. I think he's realized. He used to say that he never reads fiction from women because it's derivative. And I used to get really mad. He doesn't say that anymore. This is here is the chart. This is Pemberley from Pine Mountain Designs. I kitted this up at my local needlework shop, Pine Needles in West Jordan, Utah. And there are 4 charts out from this designer relating to Jane Austen. There's Jane, there's Pianoforte, and there's Netherfield. And I deliberately chose a very steady linen, so that I bought 2 fat quarters so that I could stitch Pemberley and Netherfield on the same ones. Here's my progress so far. This is 32 count vintage smoky white. And so I have another fat quarter of vintage smoky white to stitch Netherfield on, and because vintage smoky white is always vintage smoky white, I didn't feel pressed to grab 2 more fat quarters, although I probably will the next stitch night, which is this coming Friday. I will probably grab 2 more the next stitch night just so that I have one for each. This is 4.89%, which doesn't sound possible. I don't know how it can be 4.89%. Let's go to the markup and see. That seems like a really small percent for this whole thing. It's 44.89%. That makes more sense. That's 44.89%. I was like, how is it 4? I suddenly despaired. And I started this on March 18th of 2026. It was really fun for me because it was really fun for me to find this because I found it on Stitch Night and heavily enabled one of my stitching friends, Jenna. She also purchased it because I said, "Have you seen the Jane Austen patterns?" And she had not, and she immediately ran over and got them. I have a special dedicated project bag for this one. This is Pemberley fabric. I mean, obviously, this is Pemberley. So this is a fabric line specifically designed for Jane Austen's anniversary, 100th anniversary. I think 100th anniversary. I don't know. I lost track. I'm just babbling at this point because it's been over an hour and a half. This project bag is from Sherry So Sweet, also on Etsy. And then before Riley Blake became problematic, or before I knew about it, I got this Jane Austen bag charm to go on the bag. So that is that one. Like I said, I have a lot of the colors are the same. So once I finish this one, the rest will largely be kitted. I might have to get another 1 or 2 fabrics or 1 or 2 flosses. But for the most part, the color palette and the floss list is the same. So essentially, I have one other kitted, and after Friday, because I know that even Zweigart will change something at some point. So I'm going to get the other two pieces of fabric that I need and put them with it. Almost number 26, no, 27. Number 27 is my dedicated camping stitch. If you're a regular FlossTube viewer, you know that I went camping for the first time 2 weekends ago, and I really enjoyed it. But I decided that I needed to stitch something for camping. I need to have a camping stitch, something that I could see easily without a lot of light or just with ambient light. I don't need to have my special outlight and something that I can see with just the basic readers that I don't need, to have the high powered readers or bring out the 5 pluses or anything. So this bag is from Star 87 Crafts, and it has campers and camping and this great buffalo check. It came with this little charm that is a little tent and one that reads dream. But I decided that since we were RV camping, I would get this little RV. So I have that guy. I think that's flamingo toes. There's a hair stuck in there. My hair is everywhere. And I decided that I wanted to make this stitch for the person that we are going to be going camping with probably all the time. That is my good friend Aaron, who is kind enough to invite us into his RV and really, really worked hard to make sure that my first post-Army camping experience was the best it could possibly be. And it really stinking was. I had such a great time. But Aaron really loves camping, and he's also a photographer. I will drop his Instagram in the description box so you can follow his Instagram. And if you are a player of D&D, I will also put his Etsy shop because he 3D prints a lot of things that are useful for D&D players, like life counters and little guys, um, little figurine guys. But anyway, so he's a photographer who loves nature. So I decided that he needed to have this stitch. He did have input into it. I almost never choose a stitch for somebody without making sure that that's something that they're willing to accept, because I don't want to give somebody an obligation. So this is from It's Always Stitchy in Philadelphia on Etsy. It calls for DMC, but one of my Stitch Night friends was super kind and wonderful and helped me kit it with fancy floss. So we did a full fancy floss conversion. If you're interested, let me know and I'll let you know what it is. And also then I found these Lori Holt floss drops. Obviously they're Christmas, but they're also camping in the Uinta Mountains in Utah. So I did those. It's all flossed up. And here is my progress on this. I am 5.60% finished. I started it just 2 weeks ago on July 24th. The fabric is Zweigart Ice Blue 14 count Aida. I chose 14 count specifically because I can see this without reading glasses. So by the time my eyes get tired, I just have to put on reading glasses. I don't need fancy ones. There is the needle minder that I have for it. It's camping themed. I have hedgehogs on my grime guard, and I think blue. So I have a blue Nerge on there. It's all matchy, and it's all a self-contained kit. That's why this one is also still in the hoop. And I even have a little, I also have a wee thread conditioner that I made. And I think that my little scissors are usually in the back of here, but it has its own dedicated scissors. I don't have to bring my little travel stitching kit. This thing is fully self-contained, autonomous stitching situation. The needle is in here and my scissors and my everything is in here. I can just pick this up and go rather than having a whole pile of accoutrement that I need to carry when I'm camping. So 5.60% finished on that one. The next one on my list is a permanent UFO. I hate it even more than the flower truck, and I don't know where it is at the moment. I might have thrown it out. I might have put it in the Goodwill box. I don't know. I haven't found it. I don't know where it is, and as far as I'm concerned, it can stay gone. It is a DMC kit called the Spring Garden Jug, and it is horrific. So WIP number 28 is actually 3 finishes and a WIP. So I will show you the WIP first, obviously, because that is the parade that we are currently endeavoring in, is the WIP parade, not the finished stuff parade. Thread Milk Designs has a series of little bitty pillows called Statehood Splendor. In it, she has a little write-up about that state. If it's one of the original 13, it's got this little thing here. And so I decided that I was going to stitch these for every state that boyfriend and I have lived in together, which is 4 total states. So I bought the 4 states. So again, this is New Jersey, which is the one that is still the WIP. Here it is. I made 1 thread change. This picture shows Classic Colorworks chili pepper as the tomato, but the chili pepper in my experience has been very orange, and I am a big fan of the Rutgers tomato, which is native to New Jersey. So I made a change and I swapped it out for, I'll tell you. So I swapped chili pepper out for, okay, here's a perfect example. Here's the chili pepper, and it looks kind of reddish. But when you hold it next to the red of cayenne, you can definitely see that the cayenne is redder. So I swapped it out for Weeks Dye Works cayenne as opposed to Classic Colorworks chili pepper. All the rest of the called for, there's one Valdani, there's one Dinky Dyes. My first time using silk for that one. That one was my first time using silk, and that is just the white here, and it's such a bright white. And I don't know if that's because it's the silk or it's just a really bright white, but I love the waves. So this is the status for New Jersey, which is where we lived together first, and then we moved to. Then we moved to Pennsylvania. My ex-husband and I shared a rental home that he moved out of and asked if I wanted back, and the rent was super cheap, and also it was really comfortable, and I really liked it. So we said yes, and we moved from our basement apartment in New Jersey back to our three bedroom house that we were renting in Pennsylvania. That was so cheap. We like stole it. I lived there for like 15 total years, minus the year that I moved to New Jersey for a little bit. So anyway, I moved to Pennsylvania. This one's finished. These are being stitched on 36 count raw from Zweigart. So after we moved to Pennsylvania, we stayed in Pennsylvania for many years. And then, well, 5, I guess, 4 years, 5 years, something like that. And then we decided, because the pandemic was happening, we decided that we were going to try and get remote jobs. And we did. So once we got remote jobs, we decided to move to Florida because we were big Disney people. And so we actually moved to 5 miles from Disney World. We could hear Magic Kingdom's fireworks from our house. We were Walt Disney World locals. It was fantastic, except for the humidity and a majority of the people and the alligators and the bugs. And I just really did not like living in Florida, you guys. I like visiting Florida. I do not like living in Florida. But we lived there for almost 5 years. We're such Disney people that my ring has hidden Mickeys on it. So anyway, moved to Florida and lived in Florida for 4.5 years. We sold our house the same month that we bought it 5 years previous. And we did that when we moved to Utah, which we both agree is one of the best decisions that we ever made. We absolutely love living in Utah. We love the landscape. We love the people that we've encountered. I am very fulfilled in my work, and we feel the most fulfilled we've ever felt living here in Utah. So those are the 4 states that boyfriend and I have lived in together. Only New Jersey is still a WIP. New Jersey is currently deep in my grandma's house in Milestone Manor. So I'm going to double check real quick and make sure that I haven't forgotten to tell you about any other. Pemberley is also in Milestone Manor. But statehood split. New Jersey is at 63.28%. I started them on February 11th of 2026, and I got to tell you, I got through Utah really fast, and I got through Pennsylvania in like a day and a half. It was like lickety split. But like I said, it is on 36 count raw from Zweigart. And so New Jersey, I don't know the location of New Jersey currently in my grandma's house in Milestone Manor. So that will remain unfinished for a bit. Last 4, friends. So the next one, 4th from the end, that I have for you is something that I picked up. I don't remember where, actually. I can tell you because I have it on the spreadsheet. This one I picked up. Oh, I got it from 123 Stitch. That's weird. It's not weird that I got it from 123 Stitch. It's that I feel like it's something that I must have seen somebody on Floss Tube stitch it or something, because I don't often just like browse through 123 Stitch. And this, it's on an enormous piece of fabric, you guys, and it's just a little guy. But this is also in Milestone Manor, and this one I have uncovered. I think this one's in Nanny's Kitchen. And so I think this one's in Nanny's Kitchen. I'm stitching this for Boyfriend. I started this in Vegas. I think I started this in Vegas when we were there for him to do a work trip. But this is Summer Valentine from the Blue Flower. One of the things you need to know about Boyfriend is that his favorite animal is an otter, so much so that we got annual passes for our local aquarium because it's walking distance from his job, and every day at lunch he can walk down the street eating his sandwich, visit the otters, and then go back to work, which he did for like the first 3 months that we lived here. The stitch marker, the needle minder, stitch marker. The needle minder that I'm using are 2 little otters, because otters. So again, this is an enormous piece of fabric. It's an entire fat quarter. But here is my progress so far. I really love the fancy flosses and the variegation that I get on this. I am 63.67% finished. I started this January 23rd of 2026, and I'm stitching it on 40 count stone from Fiber on a Whim with those little otter babies. The otter wearing shorts is completely finished. I did all of his back stitching, and the more modest otter is not yet complete. And then I have the words at the bottom, which read, "I love to be with you and by the sea." And another one of Boyfriend's favorite things is being near water, hearing water, falling asleep hearing water. So it just spoke to me so much. And reminded me so much of him. So that's the first thing that I started stitching for him. And so, like I said, that is in Milestone Manor, and that will get some work on it. I think the next room I'm going into is that one. So the third from final project that we have, I purchased from a seller on Etsy. I don't know who. I could go through my Etsy purchases, but I have not. In my spreadsheet under designer, I have somebody from Etsy. That's all it is. This one is, it was one of my first rage stitches. It's called We Believe. It made me feel better about things that were happening around me, and declaring my opinions solidified them for me and made them more concrete in my mind and made them easier to fight for because I had them concretely in my mind. The needle minder that I'm using for this one, I didn't put on here. I put on my little stand that holds my phone. That's, let's see if you can, anyway, there's a curse word on it. So, but that's the needle minder that I'm using. I started with this one in Pattern Keeper and then had to import it all into markup. But here it is. This is We Believe. I am 45.73% finished with We Believe. This one is also in Milestone Manor. I don't know where this one is yet. This one is somewhere in my grandma's house. And I am stitching this on 16 count white Ada from DMC that I edge stitched myself with some random silk thread I can't use for anything else because it's weird and it's flat and I don't get it. It's like interwoven the way that metal hoses are. And it's still, I don't know what it's used for, and I don't know where I got it. It just showed up in my stash one day. I know that I didn't buy it, so I don't know how it got there. But I just used that to do a blanket stitch around the edge. So I started this November 9th of 2024. And if you cast your mind back to early November of 2024, you'll understand the reason I felt like I needed to have this stitch. And I still, before it went into Milestone Manor, I would still take it out occasionally when I felt like I needed to remember some things. So that is We Believe. I believe it was originally a stitch along, but I came to it much too late for the stitch along, and so I got the whole bit. The penultimate WIP that I have is only a WIP as of last night, because last night is when I finished section 3 of A Worthy Patriot, which, if you look at the dates, you'll see started yesterday. I always aim to have that current section finished and my instruction video already recorded before it drops. I don't know what happened. I had a brain fart. Time was timey-wimey. I don't know why, but I didn't have it finished. But last night, and I was texting with Jess, and I don't think I'm going to finish it. She goes, it's okay. I have my video up. Everything's fine. And we did coordinate sometimes in the next remaining 9 drops when she and I may not have enough time to finish, so that we can make sure that we're covering for each other, because that's what friends do. But she's like, you can do it. And I did it. I finished it. I was very proud of myself. And then I said, I'm going to reward myself with a new start. So last night, officially, this is a WIP starting last night. I'll start with the project bag. This is a project bag from Shepherd's Bush. I purchased when I visited Shepherd's Bush on my quilt, on a quilt shop hop. Shepherd's Bush is not a quilt shop. It was not on the list, but because we were so far ahead of our timeline, boyfriend said, "Isn't there a cross stitching shop in Ogden we should stop at?" I said, "Yes." So this was the original camping bag until I found the other one. But I just decided to use it for this one. This was I try every time there's a stitch night at my local needlework shop. I try to make a purchase, at least one purchase. I try to kit up something or just make some kind of a dent. I don't think Pine Needles watches this, but they will be tagged because I mentioned them, so I don't know. But I always try to make a purchase at Stitch Night so that Stacy and the others can see that Stitch Night is profitable. I definitely want them to keep doing it. So a couple of Stitch Nights. I want to say April, May. I had to sneeze. I'm back. I kitted this up. I found this little guy, which is definitely how I feel. And I decided to kit it up. I did not, most of the called for, but one of the called for was not available. So I substituted a different blue as one of the blues, and then I didn't like the 2 reds. The 2 reds were DMC, and I wanted to use fancy floss for the reds as well. So I kitted the 2 reds also in fancy floss. If you're interested in that conversion, let me know. But I decided this one would be the most no-brainer one to stitch, and I was right. I managed to stitch this entire section in one episode of Bosch. I don't have it in, I didn't take the time to scan it into markup yet, so I don't know how completed I am, but you can see I did like this much right here. That's where I am. This is, so it was started August 1st, 2026, and it's being stitched on 32 count creme brulee from R&R Fabrics, which may be the called for. It is not the called for. The called for is 36 count fiber on a whim, milk and honey. So I didn't even do the called for count. Good job, Katie. What were you thinking? So anyway, I think I bought this because somebody recommended it uh, in my evaluation for the perfect neutral cream. So I think I took the opportunity to purchase it then, and then I just kitted it up with this. I don't know, but this is 32 count creme brulee from R&R. It feels kind of burlappy. It feels like it has big holes. Um, it feels Zweigardy. It does not feel fiber on a wimmy. It doesn't feel Cedar River linen-y. It feels very Zweigardy, if you understand what I'm trying to say. I don't dislike it. I will continue to stitch it. And I will also stitch this one since this is what I purchased it for. I just started up here so I can stitch this one, and then I'll stitch the other one elsewhere on the fabric. Are you ready? It's the last one, you guys. As I am recording this before any editing, it is 2 minutes and 9 seconds. So look down and see where you are. You can see how much editing I've done, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Because I have a lot that I plan on cutting out of this one. But the last WIP that I have for you, very last one, is also in Milestone Manor. It is somewhere in my grandma's house. But this one is being stitched for my wonderful mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is kind and thoughtful and helpful and funny. I love my mother-in-law so much. I cannot wait, and this is not sarcasm, I cannot wait for her to move out here and come and live with us. Because this is a stitch for my mother-in-law, my last project bag is also from Layla P Creations. It's one of the biggies. And this one is the Red Sox, because my partner's entire family is from New England. There's a Red Sox hat right there. That's my pink Red Sox hat. But we are fans of the New England teams. In fact, right now, as I'm recording this, the new Women's Professional Baseball League is having their second game ever, and it is the Boston team that is playing the San Francisco team. So the San Francisco Firebells, and I cannot remember the Boston team. It's not the Hornets. There's the Queens and the Firebells and the Heights and the Boston team. And they're our team, but I can't remember the name. But anyway, this bag is because my family we are Red Sox fans. So as are Stephanie and Pam from Just Keep Stitch & Co. So Red Sox Nation. But anyway, I started this in 2019, sometime in 2019, as a gift for her, for my mother-in-law. It is originally a needlepoint chart. I forgot that needlepoint exists. And so this image is the needlepoint image. And also it is terrible. With all the tassels, look at that. I won't be finishing it this way. It is going to be a pillow. And it is going to be for when she moves in with us. Her style is very craftsman style, and the home that we're going to build is also in a craftsman style. And William Morris is one of my favorite, I think he's my all-time favorite fabric designer, other than Mark Lipinski. William Morris is my favorite fabric designer, and this is a William Morris inspired pattern. And William Morris was part of the arts and crafts movement. And my mother-in-law's decor is all arts and crafts. It all follows. So I am 48.82% finished with this. I decided to stitch it on black Aida instead of stitching all of the black background. This could have been a full coverage piece. But A, I did not know full coverage pieces existed at the time, and B, I did not have that kind of patience. So you may have seen, if you watch regular videos, other times I have discussed this chart. I've discussed this project where I am going to run out of space here. I have a minimum of space here and I'm going to run out of space here. That's because I didn't know to measure my fabric before I started. So I finally found a black that matches. The quality is not the same. This one is very see-through and this one is not. My board ends right here. So this whole bottom, you should be able to see me through, and you cannot. But I matched the blacks, which is the most important thing. I'm going to cut a piece and attach it up here, and I'm going to cut a piece and attach it down here. I'm going to continue my stitching. And then when I go to sew the pillow, I'm going to back this. I'm going to iron on some black interfacing on the back of this to account for the difference in quality here, because this was such an old piece of fabric that it's DMC. The DMC doesn't sell their own Ada anymore. But this is DMC 14 count black. And yeah, here's a perfect example. So here I'm holding it up. You can just kind of barely see me, right? And I'm holding this up at the same place. And you could read a book through this. So, but that's how I'm going to solve that issue. We have at least a year before she moves in with us, so I'm not super concerned about it. And if I need to pivot to working exclusively on this, I certainly will, because I want to have it finished when it's time for her to move in. So that is my August 2026 mid-year WIP parade. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. If you don't already subscribe, I would love to have you as a subscriber. That would make me so happy. Please make sure that you are having your opinions heard by your elected representatives. Their job is to represent you. If you don't know who your elected representation is or are, there will be links in the description box to how to find out who your elected representatives are, how to contact them, and then a link to a resource called ballotpedia.org, which is a nonpartisan resource that tells you things like what's on your ballot and who other representatives are, and backgrounds on some topics and further reading, and sometimes how your representation have historically voted. So it's a really great resource. Even if you think you're registered to vote, please double check your voter registry, because there are some shenanigans happening nationwide that are conspiring to remove people from voter rolls that are valid voters. So double check and make sure that you're registered before your state's registry deadline, so that you can vote in any primaries that are coming up, and so that you can vote in general elections. And remember, the mayor in JAWS 1 was still the mayor in JAWS 2, which tells you how important local elections are. Don't just wait till presidential elections. Make change in your immediate neighborhood with your local elections. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now. Making sure my microphone is still on. It is.